Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quantum Portals. My name is Crystal, and I'm here with Mr. Jeff Selver. If you are familiar with our last video, we were talking with Mr. Selver about his book, The Rising, in which he talks about his experiences as a contactee. So if you haven't checked out that video, I'll leave the link in the description below. But today I wanted to sort of take time to talk with Jeff, especially since he is a contactee, about his perspective on this recent drone phenomenon that has been taking place in the United States, particularly in New Jersey and the tri-state area, but it now seems to be a phenomenon that is extending itself across the world. There is a channel called the ThirdPhaseOfMoon, and he's produced a documentary called the Battle for Disclosure. And in that documentary, he talks with Dr. Stephen Greer and with Mr. Billy Carson. And he talks about what these drones probably are. Now, according to Dr. Stephen Greer, he says that a lot of it is just basically a psyops, attempts by certain factions within the American government. There are, let's say, break-off factions of the American government which have siphoned money and have siphoned technology, have engineered alien technology and are using it for, trading on the black market, for using it for, selling to the highest bidder, all this sort of technology. So he has one perspective, and he's made a good point. He says that a lot of the news stories that are out there talk about how the news stories all seem to sound the same. People are saying the same thing. There's no really good pictures. There's a lot of pictures from YouTube, from X, from different social media, but there hasn't been any kind of real solid images of these drones, even though you see them flashing and all that sort of thing. Now, in my opinion, I think it might be both. I think there's definitely some human, earthly explanation for this. Why the drones are out there, I don't know. And then there's also orbs, which seem to not be human, but again, I don't know. So I think there's two different things going on here. So I'd be very interested, Jeff, if you could sort of explain to us, with your background, what you think this issue's about and what's actually going on.
Sure. So, first and foremost, I don't know too much about Stephen Greer, and he's actually, as a contactee, he's actually got some things equivocally wrong in the past.
Oh, really?
So I actually don't. Yeah. So I don't actually. He has an opinion, is what he has, and I don't claim to him. I don't know where he's getting his information from. The other parts that are relevant is that the tech isn't anything we have right now. Okay. And it's not something you can go and grab from somewhere. And we haven't actually seen these types of objects. Even people in the military are admitting we don't have objects that can fly like this, that can fly this long and this consistent. And then why would they, if it was the government, why would they be purposely going into restricted airspace and then confirming for our enemies, are not my enemies, but obviously the American government,
enemies.
That you can just do this.
Exactly.
So so that makes absolutely zero sense. Not just that, they're very visible. So they're not spy objects. If they were spying, they wouldn't be so visible. So
like, hi, I'm here.
Visible. Yeah. So let me tell you a bit about what's been going on with me. So my memories came out in 2019 of alien contact, prolific alien contact. I've been absolutely public about this. I have passed a lie detector test. I have my own videos of UAP on my website. And the entity that I associate with my contact has literally been the entity that's been flying around my house as UAPs.
Really? Can you explain that a bit? Like, what do you mean that the entity has been flying around your house? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I use like very colloquial language because that's it's almost a joke for me that's what happens. But it's So you can see on a sometimes nightly basis, there are weird objects in my environment. So I live in a high rise and I have amazing views. And of course I have all the apps that determine what's an airplane and what's a satellite. And I've been living on high rises for well over, 20 or 15 years. So I have my share of seeing everything, right? Seeing weird weather phenomenon and drones and stunt planes. And so I know, I'm pretty good. I got binoculars and I got the whole thing going on here. And so when my memories of alien contact came out, it actually was associated with an object in the sky that was matching when I was traveling. When I was having contact and not knowing it, I was seeing objects in the sky. So they repeat themselves. There would be orbs. Typically, it was orbs, and a couple times I saw them as blue and red. But with having no knowledge that that's what alien contact looked like, I assumed everything was happening was spiritual to me. So I mean, these were spirits or entities, and I didn't know what they were, right? And it was associated with the reason I'd gone traveling, but I had trouble making the bigger picture that this was actually alien contact. So when they came back, they behaved the same way they did when I was traveling. And that confirmed for me that something weird was going on. And then that thing started to communicate with me, these objects, these orbs. They would sometimes be very fast. They'd be in the environment and they'd be very fast. So I couldn't film them. But they would respond to me. I would actually say, show yourself. Like they gave me a command one night very specifically. And I said, I'll do that if you show yourself to me. And then an orb flew across my window, outside my window really fast. And it wasn't a meteor. It was something it was in the neighborhood. It was like a sphere, like a ball, and a white ball. And from that point onwards, I knew something was going on. So that was a relationship in and of itself. The more public I was, the more that object showed itself. Public with the alien contact. Okay. It would be synchronistic. I'd be doing a presentation that night. There would be an object. I would have done a presentation that same night. I come back out and the object is there again. So, and it'd be orbs, typically orbs and different colored orbs, red or white were the most common, but the red ones, they let me film. So I have 2 films on my YouTube channel, and they were synchronistic with events going on in my life regarding the alien contact. I had written up the first 8 contact events were a draft. For a draft of my book, and I'd given that to someone, and then I had a massive sighting that I was able to film the night before going to talk about my draft with them. So there was that's a really weird thing. And for me, I just said, that's you guys. Mm-hmm. I have alien contact. This is obvious you. Mm-hmm. Obviously to me, you. And that's how it kind of went from there. So then I just acknowledged that that's what was going on, that these were, these these orbs and stuff were my entities. Well, what's very fascinating is, so I guess you can say I nurtured the relationship, or by being very public, I made sure I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the objects, and I enjoyed seeing her, and they were very affectionate at times, coming on my birthday. Okay. Coming when I have emotional distress, they would get closer. Okay. So as if I like your dog is knows about your emotional distress. Yeah, exactly. So there was this kind of relationship that was there. And of course I knew her from previously, so I let that relationship exist.
So what ended So sorry to interrupt, but just for our viewers who may have not seen our first talk, when you say her, who you're referring to, just to give people context.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you for that. For me, there's always too much information, so I always need someone like you to say, hey, wait, just say this part. And I'm like, yeah. The Elder is the main gray alien I dealt with. Okay. Basically from 16-year-old onward. Okay. Was this main gray alien, the Elder, and yeah, I think you have a picture of her. And
yeah. So people really should watch. I mean, if you've gotten to this point, people really should watch our first chat, because you'll get a very, very good understanding and a background of what we're talking about. But before you continue, you were talking about you have these visions and these orbs. So were these just sort of like regular gaseous orbs, or do they look like these drones that are flying over New Jersey? Maybe just clarify what they look like, just for
you got it. Balls of light. Yeah, balls of light, and actually being so large that there's no way that they're just a little, I think called ball lightning is the assumption. Oh, this is probably just ball lightning. Well, there's no red ball lightning, and not just that. These are huge. They would definitely be, the size of the size of a house. If it was like the height of a house, right? A 2-story house. Right, like 20 feet tall. That's what I would actually estimate when I'm looking at these massive balls of light. And but then when they're distance away, they can look kind of like they're just weird lights, and you don't know what it looks like, what's going on. And in the video I actually compare the Bob Lazar, who I fully believe is legit,
Yes.
because he describes how the craft operates in our atmosphere, and my videos replicate what he talks about. That in fact, the gravity impulse device is creating an ionizing effect with the atmosphere, with the molecules of the atmosphere, and that's what makes it light up. And you can see with my UFOs, my video, these flares originating out from the object. So it's interacting with the ions of the atmosphere, and you can see that very clearly. And so my thing is definitely a UFO. It's definitely the entity.
So we'll take a moment to look at the video that Jeff filmed, and then Jeff, maybe you can offer us a explanation as to what's going on. So here we go.
Yeah.
How do you know they're not drones or
Watch. Look at that top guy. Look at the way they're moving.
Okay, so then basically let's now sort of like move forward with this and say,
Yeah.
so now we're clear. We just had a chance to look at your video, which was very
Yeah.
interesting. So we've seen these orbs. So we're able to sort of see it from one perspective.
Yeah.
Now, how do we now compare it with one of the drones?
Yeah.
But this whole drone thing happening in the United States and that actually for certain parts of the world.
Yeah.
But you've obviously heard like the rest of us. What was your first impression when you started hearing about these drones?
Yeah. So, let's there's a space in between here. So let me describe some things.
Okay.
So over the years in my interactions with this phenomenon, and because I guess I was open to it, and because I felt a kinship with the objects that were in my environment, these orbs and things, because I related them to the entity I made a relationship with in my contact. And by the way, I've been with these entities since I was a child, and they were affectionate with me at times too. So there was a definite relationship, and I acknowledged that. So there was this sense of, kind of fun when they were showing themselves, as if they're like, hey, we're having fun with this human. And they would do weird, they'd play some games with my perception. And I found it fun. And what happened is that basically the phenomenon was manifesting itself in a variety of ways that were not the similar, were what would appear as an objective person as different things. But for me, we're all combined to be her, to be one thing. So an example of this is this very unexplained phenomenon occurred in front of my face. And if I could imagine what was going on in an invisible realm, there was a UFO there, and it was making some kind of weird whipping sound, taking the audio from the environment that had just passed and replayed it back, making no sense to my brain. But then, so that was a private event that happened between me and my wife, though my wife had trouble hearing it. It was a really weird, bizarre scenario. But then I would find in the UFO BC database, probably a year and a half later, someone experienced the exact same thing in the exact same spot. So a whipping wind sound, a twirling wind sound that was in front of their face that they can't see, and then they could hear it leaving and moving away. So it was obviously some object that had made the sound. And for me, I associate it with the elder. I associate it with the entities I'm dealing with.
Okay.
I would have more than one scenario like that, where by the time I'm saying, when weird things happen in my environment and I'm thinking about the aliens, it's a communication to me. So they're hearing my thoughts and they're saying, yeah, focus on that thing you're thinking about. And it should manifest as this weird whipping thing only in around the area of the airport. Very weird. When I'm at home, she's these orbs. I also have strange periods, where I'm dealing with manifested angel hair. I don't know if you know what angel hair is, but I'm seeing this.
Okay.
Like plasma
okay.
string. Yeah.
String
like weird
things.
white string. Yeah. And but thick and manifesting in front of my eyes, as I know she's an orb in my environment. And I'm actually saying to her, I love it when you show yourself to me. And this angel hair stuff just manifests in front of my face, and then it disappears. It goes up. It's defying gravity. It's a mucus is what it looks like. It's a ball of mucus, but it's huge, probably the size of a person, if not larger, spreading out into the sky, and then it's disappearing. And it's literally only tens of feet away from me. So this only happened for a brief period. So I'm having these periods, these kind of patterns about the way she's showing how she can manifest in my reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's a thing going on here where we think what's multiple different phenomenon is actually turning out to be one single phenomenon, an entity who maybe can manipulate the world in some, and they're paranormal by nature. And I've already proven this to myself through my long-term contact, meaning ghosts have been known to, when they can manipulate reality in weird ways from their dimension. So that's what we're dealing with, an entity who's manipulating reality from a different dimension, right? So then after Contact in the Desert, I went to Contact in the Desert in this year. I'm almost saying last year because it feels like we're in 2025 already. So May of this year, 2024. And I'm pushing my book. Of course, it's their message. So I feel like I'm like, I got to get this out. I got to get this out. I got to get people to know what happened to me and how this is what I was told by the entities. And as if I had, done a service for them, the last night I had a sighting of a triangle craft. So I've never seen a triangle craft in my life. And here I am in California, a very different geography again, having a different type of experience that I don't know what they're responding to in the electromagnetic field or collective consciousness, but they're changing shape and form depending on where I am. Okay. So this is always very interesting to me. But when I come back, I see, okay, I have a wild sighting. A triangle craft flies over top of me. It's got to be only tens of, maybe 100 feet or maybe like 100 and 150 feet, like really close, amplifying a sound of a jet. And then it does a barrel roll, and I know it's her because it's the craft I saw that in California. I tell her, I love you. This is amazing. She turns into these lights. So she shapeshifts in front of my eyes, turns into these lights. A light shines on me. I know this sounds, humans will eventually see that all this stuff I'm telling you is real. But right now it just sounds totally unbelievable. I get it. She barrels around, and when she comes back around, she's an airplane. So in front of my eyes, she was this triangle craft, turned into these lights, and then barreled around. And by the time she came around, she was a black object that turned into an airplane. Like a full on, like looking like a biplane, like a propeller plane, but with no propeller and just a plane. And so she flies over top of me, and I know it's her. I'm like, okay, that's like, I'm so blessed. But this is, for me, these are always, gifts for being so public about the message. So I'm always loving this trade relationship. This is for me. I'm like, this is mind blowing. I get to be close to the phenomenon also, and they show me wild things, and I end up learning about it. So what ends up happening is she becomes this plane. This started as of April something, and she is a black plane that has
April of this year. Is that it? What we're talking?
April of this year. Yeah. Sorry. Contact in the Desert, May, June. So it was, it was June is when it was. Sorry, just after Contact in the Desert. Yeah. June.
Okay, and and when you say black plane, does she look like a just a regular jet plane, black, or black, or like a small propeller plane?
A small propeller plane.
Small propeller plane. Okay.
Small propeller plane with no propeller sound. We're talking a plane only tens, hundred. I keep getting the distance wrong. 100 feet or so, if not a little bit higher, and with no propeller sound. And like, I'm near an airport. I know what everything sounds like. I know I've been very experienced in all this. This is not what an airplane. And why is it taking such an interest in my apartment? Because it's doing close flybys of my apartment. And so she flies over, and then consecutive nights after this, she's this airplane. And so and she'll do close flybys. And so I got some videos of her. And I got videos of her being this drone looking thing with the green and red lights on the side. Okay. And these are what everyone else is reporting down south.
Well, that's true, because people are talking about drones, and they're talking about the flashiness. And I think that's what sort of catches people off guard, because, well, it's a drone. It has flashing lights, and that's like, FAA standard. And so what's your problem? But it seems like there's much more. But the only problem with that is that people are saying that they are able to hover for hours at a time, whereas regular drones really, especially in the cold weather, they can only maybe do 60, maybe 90 minutes. Right. And then there's the fact that they are flying in these maneuvers, and then they sort of stop, then they continue, and then they hover and all that kind of stuff. And drones can hover, but drones are actually quite noisy. The drones are
They're
very,
they're
very
noisy. Yeah.
loud. Like they're like, "Ee!" and so people say, well, I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
And the craziness of all this is that people are saying they see these lights or drones or whatever it is, and a lot of them are triangle shape. And they say that by the time the law enforcement try to send up their own drones
Yeah.
to intercept,
Yeah.
with these drones disappear. They
Yeah.
fly like extremely fast. Like I think the average drone they say can maybe do 30 miles, 35 miles an hour, that 40 miles an hour, that kind of thing. And they said
Yeah.
that these other drones are flying in excess of like 60, 70 miles an hour. And then not only do they
Yeah.
fly away, but they also disappear and become black and disappear.
Yeah.
So a lot of what you're telling me seems to be kind of coming together. I don't
Consistent.
know.
So, okay, there's several things that were matching with me. First
Okay.
off, people are reporting airplanes that are drones. Now, we don't really have a lot of airplane drones I can think of. I've never seen of an airplane drone.
No,
And that's like we even have model airplanes or you have drones. You don't have
exactly.
drone airplanes.
No.
And that's what mine is. Mine is this weird drone airplane thing. Yeah, it's a replicating an airplane. It's what mine has done. She turns herself into an airplane. She's not exclusively this, by the way, because I've been able to film her during the day and she was the weird hockey puck thing. And I was able to film it and she wanted me to film that again, giving me a gift. So she's being stationary right in the middle of the day, right in front of my window, and then she's allowing me to film it. But these airplane moments, it's almost like she didn't want me to film. So there was a weird communication around it. And though I had captured a couple videos in those days, and I've got them now, so I got my evidence that my elder turns into a drone, and I got those videos of those drones. So that's the best part. So I got my evidence. But so here's the connecting pieces. The first one that I heard was someone in New Jersey, and they said they had the film of it. And it was an airplane. And she said, but when it comes, it's so close. She said, it doesn't make any sense. The sound isn't making any sense. And she said, it's like a low hum. I'm like, that's my object. My object it's a low hum. It's not a propeller sound. I'm hearing it replicate what I told someone on Reddit. I have been talking on Reddit about it, that it sounds like a jet really high in the sky. So as if, when you're like a jet 30,000 feet in the sky, you can actually hear it in the distance. Like
you can. You can actually hear it before you actually see
like
it.
Really low, really in the background.
Yeah.
That's what you're hearing here. You're hearing like a fake distant jet sound of an object only a couple hundred feet. And that also for me is a plane. It's a biplane. Should be a propeller I'm hearing. And I'm not hearing, I keep saying biplane. It's but they're called propeller planes. Yeah. It's and I'm not, so the sound isn't matching up. But for me, I was just comfortable with that because they've already been doing weird things with me. So I just wrote that one off. I was like, okay, that's just what it is.
For the course for you, basically.
Yeah. But to hear her say that, I was like, hey, that's my entity. And so I immediately started saying that on Reddit. Hey, this is all matching my stuff. I'm convinced these are non-human intelligence. I hadn't got my other confirmations yet. So there's a mayor who has been, he keeps being on CNN and all the news channels, and he's I can't remember the mayor, his name or the city, and I'll have to do my own research to start pulling all this stuff out. But his description matched mine: red and green lights, so that blink. So I've had close encounters with this in different forms. And one night, right up top of my window, there is a red and green object sitting there, blinking back and forth, standing still. And I assumed it was the elder, but I'd never seen her do this. Stare at me from the window, like just sitting like as an object, and I didn't know she was there, so I was like caught off guard by it.
Okay, whoa.
Yeah, so I'm like caught off guard. I'm like, oh, that's weird. What's going on here? So I open up the balcony door and I get outside, and then as if it knew it could see I saw it, it jars. So then it starts moving back sideways, and then I'm like, and then I get on the deck. I'm sitting there watching it. I'm like, this is the most odd behavior of her, because like, listen, I don't have any men in black and there's no police and no one cares about me. So why would anyone be watching me? And yet this red and green lights are consistent with the elder right now. And what is she doing here as this kind of spying drone? But she was a drone. She was more drone than she'd ever been at that point. And then she came down and she started slowly dropping and then just phased out and disappeared. Like literally just lights off and gone. And I can't see it anymore. I'm like, okay, that's the elder. I guess that's the elder. But I was really weirded out by it because I'd never seen her watching me from the outside before like that. So I just wrote it off again. But then one of the mayors described it exactly like this: a stationary red and green light blinking back and forth. You're sitting there staring at it. You're saying, what are you doing? It's not making any noises. You can't hear anything. It's not too high. It's pretty close. All of that matched my experience. So so yeah, the red and green lights were the consistent one. And then the sounds were consistent. Also the fake planes, all of that for me is consistent. These for me are 100% gray aliens. And it's because they're coming. And I've been yelling from the top of a building saying, everybody watch out, they're coming.
They're coming.
I've been saying that for a long time. And this is why, because there is some things behind it about the why. But this is, for what I understand, the beginning of it. I don't know what's going on here, but those entities are 100% my entities. I can say that with undoubted assurity. They are 100%
so
my
unequivocal.
Unequivocal, yeah.
So okay, wow. There's a lot to unpack here. So if I just to start off, you said you saw the elder, the entity that you're dealing with. She was sitting in a craft looking at you like that?
No, I'm not.
Okay, sorry, I think I misunderstood.
I'm always associating these objects with her.
Okay.
And sometimes I can get telepathic communication and communicate directly with them. So there's no doubt what's going on for me is that I'm dealing with an entity in an object. But at this moment, with that red and green looking through my window, no, I all I saw was the red and green lights. That's all I was witnessing. Yeah, and then it responded really weird when I caught it too. So I thought, like, could this be a person trying to stare at me? I didn't understand what that was. Okay. And for it to be so drone-like, and now everyone's using the words drones, I just thought that was a really interesting synchronicity also. So
yeah. Well, it seems because I see a lot of videos. I've been up all night sort of watching these videos because even myself, I'm thinking, oh my God, I guess this is it. Like this is happening. Like they're coming. Like this is it, right?
Yeah, this is it.
And so I've been watching all these videos, and some of them look more like, and that's the thing, because of the videos that I've seen, there's some that are orbs, but are really sending out like a lot of light, like almost like a light bulb, like a regular incandescent light bulb.
That's right.
Yeah. And then there's also those that really look like actual, how should I say it? Home Depot type of, you go and you buy your drone, and there you go home, and you sort of like a hobby shop type of drone, where it seems to be like at least some sort of fabric and some sort of frame and lights and all that kind of stuff. So even though I myself don't have a drone, I know what they look like, and it does look like some of them without the little propellers. But it looks like
without the propellers
flying. So the thing that I think makes this very different is the fact that usually drones have little, like the 4 propellers, and they're spinning around and they're flying around. And I find that with these drones, in quotes, drones, is that they are flying around. They seem to have a tarp or some sort of canvas or whatever, but there's no propellers, and they're flying around for a long time. And a lot of them are flashing. Some don't flash. But recently, but actually a couple of hours ago, I found a video from ThirdPhaseOfMoon as well, and I'll try to load it up here as well, where it's shooting a bunch of lights. Like, I mean, not lasers per se, nothing science fiction, but a lot of lasers and things sort of shooting out. And I just thought, well, is this some sort of Project Bluebeam? Is this some sort of like trying to get people scared and start like
be cautious too? Yeah, so we have a variety of similar looking videos, and then to have one bizarre one, like I'm always like, you always got to take a step back. Like, okay, where's this coming from? And especially with AI now, people could just, and there's always someone who's trying to ride it by making something fake. So there's a Reddit post that blew up about a radar detector who said he knew exactly what these was, but then couldn't provide any evidence and screwed up some of his information. So it went viral before anyone could even confirm him. Okay. And then they went back and then he erased everything, and then he was gone. Okay. So it was like a ghost account, someone just trying to jump on the bandwagon. Right?
So you're going to share a video with us right now? What are you sharing with us exactly?
So just this is for me, the elder as the drone.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so this is it's only a 15-second clip because for me at the time, I was like, no one's going to believe these. She looks like an airplane. They're just going to assume that that's what this is.
Mhm.
But it's the same thing everyone's reporting down south. Watch it. I zoom in here for a second.
Mhm. Oh my God.
And it's the red and green lights. It's
That's
exactly the same.
exactly what people are showing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Oh
was so
my
brief,
God.
but I was like, oh, no
No,
one's
but
going to
that's what
believe
it
this.
looks like though.
Yeah, I know. And I have 4 or 5 others at the time. And this was time
Okay.
stamped June. This one's in June, I think. It's the timestamp. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's that. So there's a bunch there. So yeah,
Wow.
I got my own videos as the elder as the drone. Yeah.
Wow, that takes it to a whole other level though, because I think that until you showed me that video, I was under the impression that a lot of what people were seeing were just regular drones. And I just thought, okay, so that's a regular drone. And then I just sort of left it at that. But now you're showing me that, and that is the elders you said as a drone. And that looks exactly like if I hadn't seen it from you, I would have said, okay, yet another video from you doing
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, so then that sort of changes it for me because I was going in different directions. I had my own sort of like a couple of days ago, I had my own sort of idea of what it was. Then I saw that whole video, which for our viewers, I'll link below. It's from Dr. Stephen Greer and Billy Carson, and they give their perspective. And I know you're
Yeah.
saying that, they may get, a couple of things wrong, but they still have their perspective. And I know that
Yeah.
Doc's done a lot of
Yeah.
research. So, I mean, he's
And of
entitled
course,
to his own.
I
Yeah,
can't speak for everything, right? There's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
sounds like there might be over hundreds and hundreds of sightings
Yeah.
right now. So we don't know what's really going on fully,
Exactly. But it seems
yeah.
very similar because if
Yeah.
I've really been on YouTube, like just pounding all those videos, and they all really much, I mean, yes, some look a little different here and there. Some are more orby in shape, and some are
Yeah.
more like a kite,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. The
They look
Stingray
like a kite
UFO.
with
Yeah.
lights, basically.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
triangle
They
shape.
call it the Stingray UFO. It's a
Yeah, it's
wild
Stingray
look.
UFOs. There
Yeah.
you go. That's it.
Yeah,
That's the
you
right
got
one.
it.
Yeah.
Very weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some strange things. Yeah, things I've never seen in my life.
Yeah.
I was stunned too. Wow, look, totally fascinated. And here's the other thing too. I think people need to start keeping their eyes open. So as I keep saying, the phenomenon is people think it's all different things. It's actually so. I think that the America is being inundated because there was an agreement in the 50s. Who knows
Yes.
what the details of that agreement are?
Mhm.
But there's a relationship. They had made
Well,
contact, and that's the
yeah.
bottom line. So it looks to me like the NHI are like, bring it on. Something
Yeah.
they want something to be brought on now. So
Yeah, so the NHI, so non-human intelligence, for those who don't know that acronym. But and to sort of get back to your comment about the agreement made in the 1950s, I think that was with Mr. Eisenhower, Dwight
Yeah.
Eisenhower, where it was agreed upon that they would have the governments of the United States and of the world would have a certain amount of time to acclimate the people of Earth to what was going on, and that they had to get it together because they wanted to come because they had work to do. And I know that if people go back and listen to our conversation we had the first time, you've also mentioned as well that they're like, look, chop, chop, we have to sort of get, chop, chop, that we have to sort of get on it.
Yeah.
And people are pushing and entities are pushing and saying, look, we're waiting and you're stalling.
Yeah.
So maybe if I had to sort of like weave a story together, maybe this whole drone thing, especially, and the thing is also in New Jersey, there's a lot of sensitive airspace in New Jersey.
Yeah, right.
And there are a lot of like air bases there. I mean, don't ask me which ones, but I know there are definitely some sensitive areas in there, and that they're seeing these drones definitely flying near these sensitive airspaces. And maybe this is their way of saying, look, this is the only way we're going to get your attention for you to sort of get going,
Yeah.
But I mean, again, like for someone like myself who doesn't have the background that you have, that's sort of how I have to look at it,
Yeah. That's for me, it's bang on. And
it's bang on.
And yeah, I think so. We don't know what that agreement was, but it looks to me the ideas of what we think happened is that they were saying even in the 50s
Yes.
the direction you're going
Yeah.
leads into a unstable scenario
Mm-hmm.
for all involved, your planet and us. And I don't know if that they said us, but definitely humans is what they.
Well,
The,
they were definitely connected. And that's the reason why
yeah,
when they exploded the nuclear bomb in the Trinity experiments, you saw a lot of UFOs
that's right.
flying up there
Yeah,
because they're saying,
yeah,
look, the stuff that you're doing, we feel it in our own
yeah. There's
space
ideas like
and
that.
at
Yeah,
our
yeah,
own different dimensions. So we are
yeah.
definitely that is for. And I know you may have different ideas of what Mr. Greer's saying, but what he said towards the end of his speech there in that video is he says that there's going to be a big disclosure event of sorts taking place between now. So this is like early December and early January. And this is really going to shake things up a bit.
Mm,
So something's coming. Something very big is coming. And
right.
if I were someone who was an entity and wanted to sort of make myself known, this is the time I'd be choosing to get
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
I don't know.
So it's very interesting. Apparently, Susie Hansen said this,
Okay.
author Susie Hansen, that the government were the ones behind, like CIA,
Mm-hmm.
maybe FBI. I can't remember. But I don't know the
CIA for
information.
sure. CIA.
Yeah, no, but I mean, sorry, they're behind the ones who started the New Age phenomenon, the
Okay.
New Ageism,
Okay.
and I don't know where she got that information from. But what the funny part is, by saying that, I was like, oh well, that matches what I believe,
Okay.
which is that very early on they actually tried
Mm-hmm.
to help, like this is coming and we have to warn people, the public. So it's you have that idea of something happening in the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
then you have some time, you have to warm up your population for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing I point to is the dogwood crabs it's called the crabwood crop circle.
Okay.
And the crabwood crop circle is a fundamentally inhuman crop circle. It's the one where an alien is holding a disc and the disk is in binary code. You can't crop circle that.
No.
So that someone had made a crop circle that has a disk of a
Mm-hmm.
picture of an alien holding a disk, and the code inside is binary.
Mm-hmm.
So then you'd have to know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try
And
to
it's
put up the
basically
picture. I'll try to put the picture here as well.
Yeah.
But I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's a warning, right? It's a warning,
Mm-hmm.
and people have always had trouble trying to figure out, well, who's the warning to? And I'm always knowing the behavior of the entities,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that they kind of pop up worldwide as phenomenon. They're communicating to a body. They wouldn't just throw out random pieces of information to a population that knows nothing and doesn't understand
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving it to someone that knows.
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking to someone is what they're doing. And they're talking to someone and saying, like, I can't recall the line, but the bottom line is that, we oppose deception.
Oh,
right?
yeah. The conduit closing.
Conduit is closing.
Yeah.
And it's a warning, right? It's
Yeah.
clearly much pain, but still time.
Okay.
It's a warning about
Exactly.
you have opportunity to make something less painful.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, lots of pain.
Exactly.
And so it doesn't matter how you interpret that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a basic thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Don't deceive us.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be lots of pain. And if you don't, and there's a variable pain here. If depending on how so you're having a picture here of humans agreeing.
Mm-hmm.
First off, humans being told about the
Mm-hmm.
aliens, about the ultimate outcome. You're having a picture of an agreement. Okay, we need to figure out how to tell the population.
Mm-hmm.
Then a almost, whoa. We don't know that we're going to go all the way down with this.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the humans are starting to think very human-like. Well, what can I get out of this? And who am I? And and how do we preserve our population and our people? And how maybe we can keep the rich wealthy? And how can
that's the thing,
together, right? Very human all the way.
But I think what's also happening, as you're talking, I think what's also happening is that, and this is what Stephen Greer talks about a lot, is that there are many different factions behind the scenes. It's not just one big clump. So basically, you have the science, science level. You have the regular basic government level, and then you have the dark sort of unknowns on these dark different cabals or different types of people that are fighting. And that's often what he talks about, is that there's different groups fighting. The white hats, the yellow hats, all these different hats. Fighting amongst each other. And so I think what's happening is that they're approaching one group, and then some other group comes in and says, no, because they come in. One of the things that he talks about is that these dark groups are the ones that also own a lot of the oil and a lot of the nuclear power and a lot of the
Right.
weapons and all that kind of stuff.
But I do agree with that assessment
Mhm.
about the factions or groups. It's the one telepathy the elder has given me
Mhm.
that um, that the fractured actual U.S. government alone is the reason this happened. That there's a CIA and that there's an FBI and there's a DOD and they
Mhm.
all do their own investigations. And when you convince one body, the CIA, let's say,
Mhm.
then they believe and they know, and then the FBI says, "Whoa, what are you talking about? That's not how we're going to go about that." And they kind of have the self-preservation perspective. So you always have one body you're convincing while you have another body that's fractured about it.
Mhm.
And this kind of fractured is what's caused. Yeah, this is the end result. Is this massive? It's going to be chaotic, is what it's going to be.
Mhm.
And I think that you know apparently Ross Coulthard said that even right now as we speak, the White House is like they're terrified. They don't know how to handle the scenario
I
that's
can't
occurring.
imagine Trump coming in and saying, "Oh my God,
He's already saying shoot
what
them
the
down, and
hell?"
he's saying shoot them down, and we already have videos of civilians firing weapons at them.
Yeah,
So this
that's
isn't
not going to
good.
end well. That's going to
Yeah,
not
so this isn't
end
good.
well. No.
Yeah.
But I mean, getting back to the 1950s, you have, I'm not sure if you know Frank E. Stranges. He wrote a book called The Stranger at the Pentagon about
Oh,
Valiant.
I know that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
so Valiant Thor looked like a regular gentleman in a suit and all that kind of stuff. And I think that could have been, that could have worked. Even somebody
Right,
like, Adamski, he had a lot of, the same thing, contact with people from Venus. I think that
right,
they really handled it well. And I think also back then
right.
in the 50s as compared to now, people really believed in their government. People trusted their government.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was the opportunity.
that was the opportunity then
Yeah,
because people would have trusted
agreed,
it.
agreed,
Not
agreed.
coming in with like gray aliens, no. But if you
Yeah,
come
yeah,
with valiant Thors and the people from Venus that look
yeah,
like us, and
yeah,
and then you say, look, and they come up and they say, hi, my name is, Archon or whatever it is, and they start to
yeah.
introduce themselves. I think it would have been actually kind of okay with that because it would have been
I
a very
agree.
different time.
I agree. I
They
agree
lost
that
their chance. They really lost their chance with
they
that.
really did. And here's the thing I always say too. I know that they did lose their chance.
Hmm.
So my story is very interesting
Hmm.
because I always look back at it being a metaphor for humans. Susie Hansen said this, that all alien contact is metaphor for what disclosure will eventually be like for all of us. And
Hmm.
that's a really good perspective because I
Hmm.
can't help but notice. Okay, so my story is that I had this experiment with gray aliens,
Hmm.
and there's a period of my life where I had this crazy, sorry for the words crazy, but I had this wild experience that was too much for my mind at the age of 20. And I didn't try to make something like that happen. It just kind of happened. It was this kind of extreme energy, if you will, energy rush, but consciousness that lasted for months. And I couldn't get rid of it. And it kind of it traumatized me. But it was some kind of attainment. I had unity effects from the environment, yada, yada, yada. The bottom line is that it came with a message to make a choice, which was to leave my life. And everything in my environment was opposed to this. So the aliens had put me into a scenario where I had to listen to my heart and nothing else. Yet there were synchronicities in my environment. So there was weird alignments going on. There was my parents left right at that moment. My band broke up. My girlfriend and me and my girlfriend broke up. Me and my friends are falling apart. So I had all these kind of things in my environment kind of giving me the message to leave, but I had to make a jump. I had to literally jump off of a boat into the water, or that's the metaphor. I had to jump off of a
Hmm.
cliff and hope I'd fly. And
Hmm.
it's this wild metaphor that I always come back and imagine that's how they felt.
Hmm.
It's a metaphor of like, we have nothing to go by here. So you either have to make an intuitive choice and hope for the best, because that's technically what the scenario that they were in. There's nothing in their frame of reference of reality that could have said this is the best move you ever could make for your society and for you and for everybody. And that apprehension is the normal mental human thing. And as great as it could have been, and probably as glorious as your and my birth, but into a new world where
Yeah.
we didn't experience anything we're experiencing now. Instead, we're in the scenario that we're in because humans are just humans. When we're up
Yeah.
against the unknown, we get scared,
You get
we
scared.
run,
Right.
we don't even trust our own intuition in the process when
Exactly.
we're up against something of the
Exactly.
unknown. So, I'm actually going to read a part from my book here
Sure.
because it was when I put together that these drones were the aliens. I had a dream that night. And so what was the dream was someone took a really clear photo of one of the drones that are a plane.
Okay.
And someone said, listen, this is this type of plane, but the FAA lights are wrong. So someone's flying a miniature version of a plane
Okay.
that has FAA lights that don't match planes. And so there was like this weird pattern of lights that didn't add up to a normal plane.
Okay.
So this went viral, and I had that superimposed over top of a sun in my dream, and I knew it was what the elder told me in my 25th contact event. So I was like dreaming about this, and she said, "So I'm." I'm on a platform and a giant sun is in the background of this platform. Like it's a weird altar in my 25th contact event. And at that altar with the sun in the background, she said, it will be a full circle, a completion of enlightenment era into darkness and back into an enlightenment where humans crawl out of the darkness in which they were in. It was a part of the path for humanity to learn and to grow, but the path that humans have chosen has come to an end. So it's this idea that there's a cycle going on, and that for me, what she was telling me in this dream, or the dream was telling me, was that these drones are kind of the dawn of a new era, right? Dawn, right? The sun, a new sun is arising.
Okay.
Yeah, and that this is a cyclical thing going on, and this is the beginning of a new era. And so she's telling me that directly in the dream, as I put together, these are the aliens, right?
That is hardcore. Wow. That's heavy. So basically, that sort of just ties it up then, because I came in, well, first of all, yes, on a platform with the sun, but then it's that part where you say the path that man has chosen has come to an end, meaning, and maybe this is how I'm interpreting it, but meaning how we chose to go along a certain path, and, it stops here. And it stops. And now the aliens are not going to take over the car and drive us in another direction.
And I think as friends,
towards whatever.
Yeah, as buddies, friends, sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, hangouts. But it's their world. It's not our world. But you hang out with them. It's like, hey, you can join us, is what it is. Yeah, but you want to start shooting guns, and that's not our world.
No. That comes to an end. That's for sure.
You want to eat McDonald's? That's not our world.
No.
I'm not judging McDonald's or anything. I'm just saying.
But I know what you mean. But like that whole sort of like humanity and this sort of like crazy crackhead approach to life that we've been on. That whole bus leaves, and then we get on a new bus, and now we're sort of now on a new bus with different people, and we're going in a different direction. Yeah.
And that this was actually the human era was, maybe 10,000 years. I don't know. Is it possible that the Younger Dryas was the end of an human and alien and knowledge, actually? Always the emphasis here too was that we were aware at one point of that relationship, and then it's over our own history of their removal from us. We forgot about it or got eroded from our written history, and then we have records of it from the megalithic structures, but that's all it is, and we don't know that we were once a part of something.
We lost
now we're coming back to it.
36,000 years ago, where Egyptians talk about, the Zep Tepi and that whole period where we were in contact with the gods, we were walking amongst the gods were amongst us. And if you look at all these different cultures around the world, they talk about the gods living amongst men. And that, society was very stable, and everybody had a certain level of humanity. And then a lot of these aliens or whatever you want to call them left, and they said, we'll be back soon. We'll be back. They've always said we'll be back. And in that time, you leave the kids alone, they're going to start going crazy, because they're not going to know. You need a parent.
Because they're kids.
We're kids. You need the parents to raise the kids properly. And if you don't have parents raising the children properly, the children go crazy. That's how it happens here. Why would it be any different with human race?
Yeah. Right? I actually imagine that, some of that was supposed to be kept somewhere. Like, who knows what the ancient actual religion of the Egyptians was, right? We have some pretty old civilizations here that had some type of wisdom, some type of knowledge, and we have no record of what that wisdom actually was. We have a couple pieces of it, but we don't really know. We don't really know some of the things.
We lost a lot of it, though. A lot of
It's all
people
lost, yeah, and that's a natural progress of time and humans conquering one another, and because that's what we were barbaric animals
Well, when
conquering
the
each other.
conquistadors came in and attacked the Incas, I mean, we lost so much,
Just wiped things
God,
out. Yeah, it literally just destroyed it, and
destroyed it. We could have been
yeah,
that. We could have been 1,000 years ahead with that kind of,
yeah, and in so many cases, I think that's the
yeah,
that's the scenario.
awful.
But
Anyway,
it's the tribal mind,
yeah,
it's not even racist at that point. It's just tribalism, right?
tribal and
It's
control.
so
It's just
it's
control.
so you're so not you're an animal and I'm not is what it is.
Exactly.
We can't even relate to the other person
Yeah,
to such a
exactly.
degree that we just destroy everything that belonged to
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
And instead of
yeah,
looking at it and saying, "Oh, this is interesting," no, it's the work of the devil, burn it. Oh my
yeah.
God.
It's the unknown.
What the
We
hell?
destroy it,
Anyways,
just like we're doing now. It's the
I
unknown.
know.
Let's try to shoot it down, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, but you know what
Yeah,
though? I've spoken
yeah,
with other people, especially people who are a part of the group that I run called the Starseed and the Lightworkers
yeah.
Collective. And a lot of times people who have talked on that group, some of them as well are people that are also working with different groups as well. And some of them have said that if we try to shoot them down, they will definitely defend themselves. So
Right, right.
that doesn't look like it's going to be good. That's not a good look.
No. Yeah,
So
I believe that. Yeah.
it's not a good look at all.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think I can see why they're going to try and get stuff done before the beginning of January, because January 20th, the clock is ticking. Because if Trump gets in, and look, I want to say right away, I'm not for Trump or for Harris or anything. I'm not bringing politics into this,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying as a transition with this new um, with the new administration in the United States, I think things are going to really have to sort of happen before that.
Yeah. Leadership matters, man.
Leadership does. And like
Leadership
again,
matters.
I don't want to
Yeah.
take sides because I'm not taking
Yeah.
sides. That's not what this show's about.
Yeah.
But it's just that the new administration might have a different perspective, and I think that has to be taken into account. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
So
good.
so basically, um it I guess it stands to I guess we're going to look at this and say, okay, so this is it. This is the beginning of it.
Beginning of something.
Something.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to, I don't know. This could go on for years. I have no idea. Right. We'll just, they're in
Something's
control.
happening though.
Yeah.
Something's happening.
Something's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, because
And it's for me, it's 100% NHI related. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
non-human intelligence, definitely.
Non-human intelligence related. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
exactly what it
definitely
is.
think it is, and I
Yeah.
think that the dream that you had there was just like it just makes so much sense. But
Yeah.
also, and I've often talked about this, is that astrologically where we're headed, we really are headed into the age of Aquarius. It ushers in a contact of two different groups
Right.
coming together, and so this might
Interesting.
be just that. That's what's
Yeah.
happening. So I
That's
think if
what
this
I'm
had
certain
happened
this
20 years
is.
ago,
Yeah.
I don't think this would have happened. But I think we're that there. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Agreed.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
bringing us with that interpretation and giving us
Yeah.
this perspective on the drones.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens,
Yeah.
and if something really big happens, we'll have to come back and talk about it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it. You got it, Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.